Oh, good day, family. Good day. It's good to see you. I was just thinking. I hope you had a good day today. Hope everybody had a good day today. We know who's had the bad days. Oh, good day, Layla. So good to see you, my sister. It is so good to see you. I hope you had a wonderful day today. Everybody. We know who had the bad days, the terrible days, the torturous days. I know it get hard. I know it gets hard. But there's nothing that can compare to that. To that right there, what we've been reading about, in my opinion. In my opinion. And everybody got one. Let's just hope, people can do the right thing. Let's just hope people can do the right thing. It's bigger than just us. A little bit on us, this is bigger than just us. We can't even begin to imagine. Brother Yaki got some tooth powders. If you got a toothache and stuff like that, you can go to Brother Yaki's website and order you some of his tooth powders. Make sure it's his site, because there's a whole lot of scammers out there. I mean, it is a whole lot of scammers out there. I did something yesterday. I wrote with my left hand. I wrote my name with my left hand. And I don't write with both of my hands. But I did yesterday, and it looked pretty good. I'm just saying. The Emancipation of Robert. We're going to start with chapter 21 tonight. It's really not that much more left. Look. We've read that much right there. We got that little bit right there to go. Thank y'all so much. Thank you. We just waiting on one more. We just waiting on one more person with you, my sister, and then we can read. Oh, thank you. I had a wonderful day. Knowing what I know, yeah, I can't complain unless it's about my people. If it ain't about my people, I ain't too much gonna complain, say too much or nothing, But yeah, I had a wonderful day. As Ash B be saying, on purpose. Ash B be saying on purpose. Whatever it is, have a good day, a wonderful day, a marvelous day. I said I'm gonna start saying I had a marvelous day. Just switch it up a little bit. I've been saying wonderful so long, it's become normal to me. Because it took a minute to start saying wonderful. I just be like, I'm okay, I'm all right. But when I wanted to switch it up and stuff, it took a minute. And now, I just do it. I just say it. And it be true. Yep. Just changing our greetings to each other, elevating our greetings to each other, our the words we use. I believe this language is a curse. I truly do. Every other word we saying is damnation to it. It's damnation to it. Maybe not every other word, but every so few words that we say, I believe it is damnation on us. As soon as we wake up, that good morning. Yeah, all of this, bless you, be less you. We got to start seeing things differently because we different from everybody else. Not just elevate our greetings, and we got to. I can start now. Thank you. But not just elevating our greetings to each other, but the words that we speak into, because the Bible even say that it's power to the words and stuff, power in your words. I ain't never read it, but I done heard, the elders say that before. And it's true. We just got to start looking at things through a different perspective. We got to. I ain't saying you must, you got to, and make you do it, because I don't even know you. But I'm saying to get through this, to see what we need to see, we got to make these changes. And I don't know if it's going to be too many people that's going to be trying to tell us down here on this level. I done said it more than once and stuff. I ain't reached that educational pinnacle, that financial pinnacle. I ain't rubbing elbows with the wealthy, the elite. You might see some bougies somewhere. But yeah, so it's my people that I'm concerned about. Don't let them sacrifice you and your babies in the future. Don't do it. I seen the craziest shit tonight, and it was a brother. Well, it was a video. Everybody done seen the hell. It's on the internet. Brother done let them put the neuro link in his temple right there. Yeah, it didn't look like he was needed a arm or nothing like that, because I guess they do start out that they using these experiments, these chips and stuff, to help you if you need assistance and stuff. But just to get it, I don't know. But it was a brother, and he got that thing in him. So yeah, just guard yourself, please, Black people. Guard yourself. Yeah. I want everybody around me that know me. You get it? Yeah, I don't want you around me. Friends, family, co-workers too. Work on days that I don't work. I'm just saying. You're going to do all of that and stuff. It's time, to be by yourself. Yeah. It's time to be by yourself. That's too much. That is too much. And Black people, we already know we don't need to be followed. We followed enough to do what was it? I think it was supposed to open the door or something. Yeah, put a chain on you though. I'm just saying. It's just, it's mark of the beast, what some of them was saying and stuff, what they was calling it and stuff. But yeah, guard yourself, your energy. Talk to your babies and stuff, because he said that this is finna be the norm. Whether you do it or not, your family, your kids is, and your grandkids is. Talk to your grandkids. Let their ass know. Tell them the raw truth. Quit lying to these babies we got at home and stuff. Let them know the truth, what the fuck is really going on in this country, in this world. How fucked up it is. Don't worry them. Just let them know we finna be wary. We got to get on our shit. We got to get on it. We got to start preparing. Make it, let it be a creative form. It's going to be creative. A garden is creative. Honey, I'm going to have vines everywhere. Yeah, somebody going to be walking down there. I'm going to be like, catch. I'm going to throw them a tomato or something. Just, don't make it so boring and threatening and stuff like that. Because we got to make some changes. We got to make some changes. It ain't my fault. I didn't even know everybody was doing all this shit. Let me let this go in here, because hell, he ain't finna start this shit tonight out here disturbing everybody and stuff. Come on here. Yeah, both of us can't be talking loud. It's either gonna be me or you. But yeah, y'all, we gotta let our babies know and stuff. Cause these folks I don't know, they after our kids, our souls, our eternity, or ever after them. What the fuck is going on? Like the Twilight Zone, and I never got into the Twilight Zone and the X-Files. I never got into them. A whole lot of y'all did and stuff. I might need to check some of them out, but it's a little too, I ain't got time, really. I just wait for the download, I guess. But I'm just like, this don't even seem like, life. Where did it detour somewhere? Folks, let it get to this. Oh, folks, it's just... They trying to play God. People trying to helping them play God. It don't make no sense. So yeah, you decide what's best for you and your family, your life, your lineage, their future. And you talk to them and you let them know what's going on. Don't be no damn follow out here now. Get your ass all hooked up to some shit and then it take over. And what, you can't get it out? Who the hell gonna cut it out? Who gonna cut it out? They ain't even gonna know what to look for. You don't know where it's embedded at. All you know is it's a scar. And then, there's a movie, it was on Netflix, I believe it might be on Tubi, called Implanted. Go look at that movie on Netflix or Tubi, wherever it is. I ain't seen it in a while, because if it ain't Tubi, I can't pay for Netflix these days. And it's a white lady with a red jacket on, I think. And she had the implant in her back, and the motherfucker took over her. Started telling her what to do, cutting off her oxygen level and shit, because it was in her back. And it just blended in with her spine or something. I don't fucking know. But yeah, talk to your friends and your family and stuff. Anybody tell you I'm thinking about getting Neuralink or whatever the hell it is. Neurocuff. It's a control mechanism. Talk to your friends and your family shit. Anybody I know in my circle talking about I'm finna get Neuralink. We finna have a very long discussion. Yep, and then if they do decide to go on, you ain't gotta come around me no more. Set your boundaries, Black America. Honey, we are in uncharted waters. Sure will. This is unprecedented for everybody. So don't follow the crowd. Don't follow the crowd. Let them play right on into what they doing. You just keep on striving. Keep maintaining, sustaining, building up your home, your library, your garden. Talking to them babies and stuff, distracting them. If that's what you're going to call it, distracting them. Get them away from them phones and stuff. Get them away from them phones. Honey, it's time for us to elevate. Fuck the dumb shit. Those that don't want to, okay. Okay. You won't see me? You will not see me, honey. Yeah, we got to make some serious decisions. Yeah. They coming at you all kind of ways, Black America. Coming at you all kind of ways. Man, that's tough. And I was thinking, we would just really have to avoid the chip if we were really with Kamala, because, Kamala was pushing for the chip and the implant and all that stuff. Transhumanism and stuff. That's how I seen if I had my little thing out here, because I wrote that too. I drew that out too. Then we would be able to see it. But hell, it's like they still pushing it, because all of it is Project 2025. All of it. See, Kamala was like Agenda 21 and Trump is Project 2025, but they both interlap right there in the middle. Both of them interlap. If I find it, I'll have it and keep it on hand so you can see it. But this right here, hell, people just ready to let them just go ahead and merge the shit. Go on and merge everything. That's just my brother. And we can't help him. We can't help him. Whatever it's going to do and stuff, it's going to do it to him. Maybe he can find some common doctors and stuff that ain't following the narrative to help him out. But this is, don't nobody know what the hell that was that they put in him. Don't y'all let them put that shit in you. I'm just saying, think about it if you do. Here, get up and open the door your damn self. Cut on the TV yourself. What do you want to do all that for and stuff? It's not part of life. Black America, don't your ass do it. Everybody else want to do it, fine. And if they do it, don't let them be all up in your house and your car and shit. Because they're going to be recording and listening to everything. They ass and Alexa, you ain't got a chance. You ain't going to have a chance. I'm just saying. But we finna read. Yeah, we finna read. Robert Sadler. I say we got maybe 2 more nights, y'all. We'll be done with this. Yeah, we'll be done with this. It's been another book, The Emancipation of Robert Sadler. And I think Robert is 12 now. And his other sister, Margie, she came back. And he went with one of his other brothers, his siblings that he didn't know when his daddy sold them all off. Pearl died. And Pearl died at 15 because the master and his friends, they beat her and burned her and molested her and stuff. She wasn't but 15 years old. And she died. And finally, Margie came back, his other sister. And he couldn't believe it. And then she told him about his other brother, because he had 2 brothers that was hired out. See, and so one of them, he got his own farm and stuff. So Robert just left. Robert left. Yep. When Margie came and visited him once or twice, And then Margie left and she couldn't come back. She didn't come back. And something happened. And he just got up and left. He got up and left the plantation, honey. And he walked like 20 miles, I guess it said. I forgot how far it said he walked. But he walked to his brother Thomas's house. And that's where we're going to start at tonight. Yep, he was just fed up. He was fed up with everything he had endured. He had suffered. And his sisters being sold away from him. His daddy had remarried Rosie and her 2 little kids. And it was truly like the Cinderella story. But it was Robert against her 2 sons. Because they were so horrible to him and stuff. And then when he got to the plantation, the Bill plantation, they were so horrible to that little boy. And yeah, now he's 12 years old. And he left. Yep, he walked off the plantation. Let me see, do I want to go back to chapter 20? No, I think we'll go ahead and start with 21 because we are on part 2. Freedom. I know, freedom. And this after he done left them and stuff. Now the master, they thinking that the master gonna come and get him. Be looking for him. But that whole time, when nobody looking for him. And where he was going to and stuff, people were free. There were free black people. Chapter 21. Oh, and this right here is the Emancipation of Robert Sadler by Robert Sadler with Marie Champion. Oh, the copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair uses are used permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Chapter 21. Cousin Bessie's home. Cousin Bessie's house in Greenville, a whitewashed wooden structure set on brick supports, had a narrow, sloping porch and 3 wooden steps leading up to it. The dirt yard was broken up with 2 or 3 small bushes, and 2 wooden boards laid in the crooked line served as a walkway from the dirt road. I was made welcome and given a small room of my own with a bed, a glass window that went up and down, curtains, and a rug on the floor. He ain't never had his own bedroom. When he had his own little room, it was really just a partition, cloth or something like an old box or a piece of wood or something that separated. And then he had a rug on the floor. But remember, he was like 5 or 6 then, and he was like, it was my own room, whatever it was. And that's when he was with that family. And remember, the family got up that morning and left him. And he was so heartbroken. I think that's when he took out. Yeah, when they ran away and didn't take him, that's when he just fed up and he ran away. Yeah. I was made welcome. And given a small room. There was a closet for hanging clothes and wonder of wonders, sheets on the bed. Bessie had me take a bath in the large tin wash tub outside in the backyard with some special soap. I had arrived covered with lice. Each day was shocking to me as I learned what it meant to be a free man. Bessie's husband, Jake, was a porter in one of the hotels in town. He told me, when you goes for a job, Robert, be sure and say yes, sir, no, sir, and act respectful. He drilled me on how to act in town and on the streets. Smile real big and never look at a white woman. Never look at a white man for too long and never act smart or act like you knows any sense. He bought me a pair of shoes, a shirt, and overalls. I strutted around the house like a peacock in my new clothes. How old you, boy? 14 June last, I answered. Tell him you're 16. I didn't know a thing about working out, but I walked into a factory, asked for a job, and I was hired as a window washer. I worked 10 hours a day, 6 days a week. I got up at 5:30 a.m., walked to work, and started at 7 a.m. I didn't dare ask how much I would be earning. And on my first payday, when I received my wages of $3, it was like discovering Fort Knox. I spent that first paycheck almost entirely on candy. I pointed out almost everything in the candy case to the grocery clerk. I also bought a quart of peach ice cream and a pocket knife and gave the rest to Bessie. I ate the candy almost all at once and then ate the ice cream. My stomach hurt and Bessie scolded me. Don't eat till you sick, boy. I had no idea. No idea, I said weakly, but he spelled it I-D-E-E. I had no idea, I said weakly. My cousin Jake drank a lot of whiskey, and one morning after he'd been out all night, someone poisoned him. He managed to get himself home and into his bed. He lay there moaning and complaining, and Bessie thought he was drunk. He died while she was in the kitchen fixing him some coffee. Nothing was done about the murder. The police came, asked Bessie some questions, and then left. We never heard another thing about it. When Bessie asked her friends what to do, they advised her to do nothing. It's just another nigger murder, honey. The whites don't care if it ain't one of them. I continued at my job, and the day after the funeral, Bessie went back to her job cooking for a white family on the other side of town. Then she started drinking too, and pretty soon she was drunk every night. She even went to work in a drunken state sometimes. One afternoon toward the end of the summer of 1925, Buck paid me a visit. I was delighted to see him. Man, you doing okay? He exclaimed when he saw me. Them bones is sure fatter than when I saw you last. He told me about a job opportunity in Florida he was all excited about. They needs workers, he told me. They's asking for men to go and work, and they'll pay the fare and take it out of the wages later on. It sounded like a good idea, and it was an opportunity to get further away from Sam Beal. I finished the week at my window washing job, said goodbye to Bessie, and boarded the train with Buck to Vernal Beach, Florida. The train was crowded. The car we rode in was jammed with Negro men of all ages, going to Florida where the promotion told us was our chance to get rich. Our hopes were built up big. For us, who had never hoped for anything at all, it was a new and exciting opportunity. Vero Beach was one big undevelopment. Forest, swamp, sand, and ocean was almost all there was to it. Our job was to clear the land for development. I stayed close to Buck, and wherever he went, I went. One day we got separated, though, and I was sent to a different section of land to work. Watch out for those rattlers, a worker warned me. I grinned and said, yes, sir, but I honestly didn't know what he meant. I took my scrub hoe and began digging up palmetto trees. I was in a spot all by myself when I heard a rattling noise. I turned and saw the biggest, longest, and fattest snake I had ever seen. Its fangs were ripping, ready to dig into me. I screamed frantically, and some of the men came running. They tore at that snake with their hoes and killed it. Then they dug up its hole and found about 20 little baby rattlers, which they killed too. Thank you, Jesus, was about all I could say. I was so scared that I didn't know what to do with myself. I was too scared to work because of the rattlers, and I was too scared not to work. I was so backwards and naive that I didn't dare open my mouth. On payday, we found that the train fare had been deducted, which was a violation of the agreement that said they would wait to deduct the fare for at least 3 paychecks. Buck was furious. Come on, Robert, he growled. I followed him to the highway. He said he had had enough of Vero Beach and getting rich. He was going back to Corey and his boy. Reckon y'all stay on here or come on with me, Robert? Naturally, I would go back with him. We hitchhiked some, but mostly walked. Day after day, we walked. A white man in a Ford sedan picked us up outside of Sebastian and carried us to Melbourne. He had a greasy face and eyes that kept rolling back and forth from us to the road. He asked questions about sex and black anatomy from the time we got into the car until we got out. That's what it said. He asked questions about sex and black anatomy from the time we got into the car until we got out of the car. It's a wonder they was able to make it. Probably because it was two of them. If the opportunity was right, I don't know what he was thinking about. It made me sick. But Buck said it was nothing unusual. Them white men, they think all us Negro men is studs, and they want to know all about it. We slept outside by the roadside at night. We walked over 60 miles and reached Daytona Beach, worn out and hungry. We went to a house near the highway and asked for a meal. The lady, white and in her early 20s, said, "Sure, set yourselves down on the porch and I'll be fixing y'all some food." She served us chicken noodle soup, white bread with butter, and black coffee. Then she gave us both a piece of blueberry pie. I had never tasted blueberry pie and gobbled it up practically without chewing. When we had finished eating, she sat down on the porch with us. She had a smile on her face. "Y'all look plumb tuckered." "Yes, ma'am. Best linger on the porch a while and rest yourselves." "Thank you, ma'am. I just want you to know that I'm all for you folks." "Huh? I believe all the trouble with the Ku Klux Klan is a crying shame, I do. All that fuss because families want to be free. Killings, hangings, tarrings. You know, they poured tar. They were pouring tar on black men. And feathers, whoopings, brandings, turned down property. It's a crying shame." "Yes, ma'am. I think Mr. Du Bois has the right idea, if you want my opinion." "Oh, you people have such talent, too." "I have a big troller and I listen to records. I listen to Oliver's Creole Jazz Band. I listen to Louis Armstrong and the Hot Five. Bix Beiderbecke, Beider or Becke. Of course, he's white." "Yes, ma'am." The young woman, who had very green eyes that looked directly at a person, paused for a moment. Then she said brightly, "You know, I just loved reading Uncle Tom's Cabin. I just cried and cried." "Oh, I just want y'all to know that I'm all for you folks." She sighed and stood to her feet. Turning, she said, "I want y'all to know it's been an honor to have you eat on my porch today." "Thank you, ma'am. Now y'all just rest and I'll be taking my leave." When she went inside, I looked at Buck and he looked as scared as I felt. We were too tired to go anywhere though, and we fell asleep in the cool shade of the porch, leaning against the steps. When we awoke, there were about 6 little white children standing and staring at us. It might sound crazy for 2 grown men to be terrified of a few small children, but we were. They were staring at us, and when we opened our eyes, one of them squealed, and another one jumped up and down, acting foolish. The woman came running out of the back door. "What do you think you're doing?" she demanded, waving her arms at us. "You molesting these children?" "No, ma'am." One of the children smiled at me and stepped forward, holding out her hand. I smiled back at her. "Ginger Amy, don't you touch that nigger." Buck and I recoiled against the porch. "Don't you make a move, nigger," the woman said, pointing her finger at me. She was very frightened. The veins in her forehead were standing out and her face was red. "And to think I cried when Booker T. Washington died." "Ma'am, we didn't mean no harm." Just then there was a man's voice from inside the house. "Rosemary, what's going on out there?" Buck jerked away from the porch. "Thank you kindly for the meal, ma'am." And he turned and headed for the field adjoining the house. I followed behind on his heels. We could hear the man's voice from the porch. "My God, is that niggers, Rosemary? You having trouble with niggers?" Later that night, as Buck and I lay on our backs looking up at the stars, I asked him, "Why for that woman be so kindly and then change and act so poorly to us?" Buck studied on it. "The way I sees it, Robert," he said, "is that she be big on the talking side, but short on the being side." We got out of Daytona Beach and walked until we reached Ormond Beach. There we found a place on the sand near the water to rest our feet. There wasn't a cloud in the sky, and the sound of the ocean rolling upon the shore was soothing and calming, like a sweet lullaby. A Negro family in a pickup truck picked us up and carried us to St. Augustine. From there, we walked to Jacksonville. We had very little money left, and Buck decided we would have to find jobs and get some money up before we could make it the rest of the way back to South Carolina. "With the 2 of us, it won't take hardly no time at all," he said confidently. But it took 2 years. Took them 2 years. Now they went the long way around. Let's see what happened. I'm just saying, oh, we're on chapter 22. We is on chapter 22. I thank y'all so much. Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. How you doing, Carl Dog? It's good to see you, my brother. Donna O'Neill, how you doing? And Rainwater, it's good to see you. Yeah, I just choose the books out of my personal library. Donna, yeah. Oh, I get my books everywhere. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Fort McPherson, happy birthday. Say no to Donna for me, please. Yeah, I get them from the little book, them little library houses and stuff. We have some of those in the communities and stuff. And I'll take some of my books, and if I find some Amelia Bedelia or something like that, I'll take them and put them in them. But I look in those too. I go to the library, I go to the half price bookstores, the thrift stores and stuff. I love garage sales and little stuff like that. The Goodwill, all kind of little, them little nooks and crannies, you can find some good books. Yeah. So we start our own personal libraries at home. Yeah. And eventually, we teaching them. We'll be teaching them. So yeah, chapter 22. Jacksonville downtown district is set in a bend of the St. Johns River, where the river turns eastward to join the Atlantic Ocean, some 10 miles away. Buck and I walked the crowded hot streets, and then we turned into a building that a taxi driver told us was an agency hiring laborers, like a temp agency, I guess. We climbed 2 flights of wooden steps and entered a small hot waiting room with several benches lined up in rows, behind which were low swinging doors and some desks where a white woman and 2 white men were sitting. There were no other men in the waiting room, and so Buck and I stood quietly waiting until one of the men called out, "Either one of you done cement work?" Buck answered quickly, "Oh, yes, sir, we has." I was surprised at his lie, but we went along with it. For the next 2 years, we worked mixing mortar for a building contractor. We rented a couple of rooms in a rooming house in South Jacksonville. Every weekend, there was always a party going on. I was very shy about being around people, but Buck encouraged me to go to the parties. "Come on, Robert, you need some fun." And he was 14 now. Because remember, Buck told him to tell the folks he was 16. But in 2 years, he's 16. So, yeah. When Buck, okay. I don't want to go to no party, no how. Boy, you is crazy. I don't want to go to no party, Buck. When Buck would persist the argument, I'd flare with frustration. "Buck, I've been locked in a white man's house most of my natural life. I've been in prison in that big house. I was put out to the field and lived like an animal. How's you expect me to act around women and parties? Just watch your old Buck, that's all. Do like I does and you'll be fine." He would go to the parties and I usually stayed in my room. Occasionally, I would walk around South Jacksonville to get out of my room. The palm trees were beautiful, sweeping the sky with their long, slim leaves, and the air was sweet and fresh. I enjoyed just looking around. I bought ice cream almost every day, and I would have lived on ice cream alone if I could have. I wonder is he going to find a sister now? I thought of Mary Webb making ice cream for the Bill family with her mean ass. I was forbidden to go near the bowls of sliced peaches and the huge pans of cold, creamy ice cream. I could remember the sick longing for just one tiny drop on the end of my tongue. And now here I was eating peach ice cream to my heart's content. Bananas sold for a nickel a bunch, and I would buy them and eat as many as 10 at one time. I had never tasted most fruits, having only gotten fruit once a year at Christmas time on the plantation, and then only hard oranges and soft peaches. I went on an all-out eating binge. Peanuts, candy, apples, oranges, pears, peaches, pineapple, pastries, and ice cream. Whatever I saw that looked good, I bought and ate. While I worked on my job, I dreamed of the good treats that waited for me when I was finished. There was a young white clerk in a grocery store on Atlantic Avenue who waited on me one afternoon. He was a college student, I believe. I heard him laughing as I was leaving the store. "Man," he clucked, "it sure don't take much to make a nigger happy. Just give him some candy and some ice cream, and he think he's in heaven. I happily discovered clothing stores too. I bought some shirts, pants, socks, underwear, and a leather belt, a green cap, and a ring with a shiny blue stone. Buying certain things for the first time sometimes brought consternation to the store clerks. Let me have one of them red shirts. Which shirt do you mean? Anyone, just so's it's red. All right, what size do you wear? I don't know. You don't know? No, I'll take anyone. I needed some shoes and went shopping for some. In the white stores, Negroes weren't allowed to try on anything, so I chose the shoes that looked the shiniest and the nicest. They were much too small for me and pinched my feet terribly. When I got back to my little room, I practiced tying the laces until I had it just right and then wore those too tight shoes until they were worn out. They left painful bumps and corns, but I didn't know any better. I didn't know that shoes weren't supposed to hurt you. Because remember when he was a kid, they gave him the white kids hand-me-downs. They gave him one shirt, a pair of trousers, and a pair of shoes that were too little. And that's what he meant. He didn't know that shoes weren't supposed to hurt you. Buck and I talked about getting back to Anderson. But every payday, the money went out, and we never had enough to last from week to week. Buck became quite popular with the girls, and there was always one or two of them chasing him. There was one girl in particular named Beulah who had Buck thinking he was the finest man on earth. I never cared for her, and she didn't like me too well either. Beulah hung around Buck all the time, and when Buck got to trusting her, she ran off with his paycheck and every stitch of his clothing. She even took his frying pan and his hair cream. His room was stripped bare by the time Beulah was finished. Serve you right, you fool, I laughed. Parties and women. Just watch old Buck. Debts, foolish spending, and running out of money kept us from getting back to Anderson. Finally, in September of 1927, 2 years after we arrived in Jacksonville and 3 months after my 16th birthday, we boarded a train for South Carolina. We had two $5 bills between us. I was 60 pounds heavier and as round as a grapefruit. Buck was lean, strong, and handsome, and sure didn't look like a slave. We rode in silence, and my mind went back to the bill plantation. I thought about Big Mac and wondered how he was doing. I tried to imagine him at work in the smokehouse or in the kitchen cooking for the hired hands. Buck saw the look on my face. Robert, where you is? I was just thinking, Buck. Look like you studying on it mighty hard. I remember Big Mac's delight when I beat up the billboards that afternoon. Law diddle, law diddle, law DA. Oh, Lord. Some things are so hard to think on. A man would almost rather have the whip on his back than suffer certain remembrances in his mind. When you last see Big Mac, I asked Buck suddenly. Huh? I ain't never laid eyes on it. Buck, not after they put me out of the big house. Don't trouble your mind, Robert. There's gonna be a day I'm gonna see him again, Buck. I has to see Mac again. Buck was very serious then. He put his head down and said in a low voice, Robert, there's something I never done told ye. I held my breath. I just couldn't tell you. With where you been in the bad spot you was in. I mean, we didn't know if you were gonna be alive one sun up from the next. Say what you has to say, Buck. Well, Robert, you gotta understand that you was such a young feller, hardly nothing but a child. Buck, say it out. Big Mac is dead, boy. Lord! I couldn't tell you, Buck struggled to speak. After you was sent out to the field, he just died. They say it was of a fever. He had some bad burns on his body, and he was an old man. Remember them burns on his body that they did? Because when Robert was a little boy, if there were two boys in the slave, they were Buck and Carrie's sons. Mitt and Waxy, I think that was their name. And they were older, and they had Robert bringing them stuff out of the big house. So he was taking them vases and stuff like that, and they'll pay him. So they found his stash in his little dresser that he had, and it was the money, and he had a paper holder that he got out of the master's office. He had that off in there, some money. So they beat Robert. No, they didn't beat Robert. They beat Big Mac, and they burned him, put some iron poles, the poker things for the fireplace, put them in the hot fire in the fireplace. Once they got really hot, they were just sticking them all on Big Mac to make Robert tell what he was doing with their stolen goods. Come find out, the two brothers ended up getting their own farm. Yeah, it went down some other kind of way, but they tortured Big Mac. And they sent Robert from the big house and made him go work out in the field and stuff. Just terrible things. But they never told Robert that Big Mac passed away. Yeah. Mm-hmm. There are certain feelings you get when your world is so low, it hardly seems like it could get lower. It's like when your nose is broken so many times, you almost look forward to breaking a foot. Or when you've done so much crying that laughter becomes pain. I didn't speak again on the way to Greenville. If Buck spoke to me, I didn't hear him. I looked out the window and saw only a black pharaoh face with a long silver scar along the side. That was Big Mac. In Greenville, Buck hugged me goodbye, and I watched him run down the hill toward town, past the bars and the cafes, and around the bend along the twisting road to town. Corey would be waiting. I stood alone on the platform for several minutes. I was 16 years old. I couldn't read or write. I had no place to go and no one to go to. I walked slowly toward town with my grip in one hand and a paper bag of Florida oranges in the other. I walked until the paved streets ended and the dirt ones began. You can always tell when the pavement is behind you and the dust of the road hits your face that you're in the black section of town. I walked to Cousin Bessie's where I had stayed before, but when I got to the door, a stranger answered. Bessie done moved to Charlotte, a pleasant, round-faced black woman told me. Her husband died and she just up and left for Charlotte. Who are you? I'm Robert Sadler, Bessie's cousin. She got a sister, Gertrude, living right down yonder, she told me, and so I picked up my grip and oranges and walked in the direction she pointed. Cousin Gertrude was a thin young woman with cinnamon skin. She wore a cotton print dress with an apron tied around her middle. I explained who I was, and she invited me in with a big, bright smile. Yo must be Plum Tucker, she exclaimed, and fixed me a meal of fried fish, greens, cornbread, and hot coffee. Eat a plenty now, you hear? Cousin Gertrude was an avid church member and an enthusiastic Christian who believed in getting a person saved and sanctified immediately. She let me stay there and preach day and night to me. I listened politely, respecting my memories of Miss Seeley and the wonderful experiences I had worshiping God with the slaves at the Bill Plantation. I remember Seeley's genuine love for God and her intensely personal relationship with him. Robert, you need to be saved. You come over to church with me to the meeting and get saved before it's too late. I experienced the same feeling in her church as the day I sat by the water's edge with Miss Seeley and the other slaves on the Bill Plantation. The exuberant singing, the earnest and powerful prayers ringing through the air, the happy faces and swaying bodies, it all touched me deeply. I felt again the sweet presence of a living God, a God who cared and who was a giver of love and justice. I began to sing along with the rest of the people. Soon I was weeping. Next thing I knew, I was on my knees at the wooden altar at the front of the church. There was much celebrating over me that night as the people sang and prayed over me. As I prayed, I felt the chains of bitterness and fear begin to slide away from me. And by the time we arrived home, I was feeling happy, relieved, and at peace with myself and the world. I helped Gertrude with the housework, doing things like washing floors and keeping things clean. The rest of the time I stayed by myself, sitting on the porch smelling honeysuckle and watching the sun rise and set. The winding dirt road was peaceful and quiet in the heat at any time of the day. When I'd run an errand to the store, I'd pass the close together wooden shanties, the people sitting on their porches, and I'd hear the friendly hellos. I'd smile back and I'd hear the birds and the children's voices at play. Outwardly, the neighborhood was peaceful and quiet, but inside the heart of the neighborhood was a different story. Most of the wooden shacks had a mother and a bunch of children with no father. The grandmas and grandpas living in them were supported by the breadwinning women who washed clothes or scrubbed floors for white folks 6 days a week for 50 cents a day. Their diet was mainly salt pork, cornbread, and greens. With their sweat, they built the fancy homes of the white folks in town. And with their sweat, they continued to keep them clean and keep them running, while their own homes were shacks unfit for human habitation. And their children ran unattended and naked. Where was the freedom in freedom? I wondered. I needed a job, and Gertrude suggested I go to Winston-Salem, North Carolina, to her brother Caldor. Caldojah. Caldor. I know it's similar to Caldor. Wow. He was a preacher on the weekends and a factory worker during the day at John Reynolds Tobacco Company. He might be able to give me a job. I packed my grip on a Saturday morning in late October and boarded the Greyhound bus for Winston-Salem. Cousin Caldor met me at the station in Winston-Salem. He was a heavy-set young man with deep-set eyes and huge hands. He welcomed me wholeheartedly and took me into his little shanty with his wife and 7 children and treated me as though I were one of his own sons. That day after I arrived, he brought me to the employment office at John Reynolds Tobacco Company. And I got the job in the lumber yard stacking lumber at $10 a week. Caldor couldn't read or write, but he sure could preach. The first Sunday I attended services at the little shack that had been converted into a meeting hall. A large woman they called Mother Shepherd swooped me into her arms and kissed me on the cheek. Praise the Lord, she shouted in a voice that could have brought the roof tumbling down on us. Yes, ma'am, I said weakly. Jesus is wonderful, she boomed. Yes, he is, ma'am, I answered, smiling faintly. Honey, we on our way to glory. She gave me a squeeze, and if it had been any harder, I would have departed for glory right then. When I caught my breath, I found a seat on one of the benches, and Mother Shepherd brought the people over to meet me one by one. I was made to feel very important and special. I loved Mother Shepherd at once. She like Miss Mary. Yeah. The meeting was wonderful. Not Mary Webb, the one that was at the slave, but all our Marys. Yeah, Aunt Mary. Everybody got Aunt Mary. The meeting was wonderful. The joy and love I had experienced and cherished before was here too. In fact, it flooded the little shack. Caldor preached with power and authority on Bible verses he had memorized since he couldn't read. He concluded his message with, this here world gonna pass away, but Jesus, he gonna last forever. The tiny congregation burst into singing. My faith was assured. I felt strengthened from heart to toe, and I thank the Lord for bringing me to Winston-Salem. Mother Shepherd knew I was a new Christian and told me with a broad smile after the service, honey, I'm going to teach you God's most excellent way. Mother Shepherd became my closest friend. After work in the lumberyard, I would go home, give me a good little wash off right quick, change clothes, and go to her place. Usually there would be others there too. We would talk about the Lord most of the night. Mother Shepherd had a friend about 70 years old named Sister Agnes who was blind. She would often be at Mother Shepherd's, sitting straight as a stick in a wooden chair, and you could hear her strong throaty voice a block away singing and praising the Lord. On Saturday and Sunday afternoons, Mother Shepherd and blind Sister Agnes would go out on the streets and hold street meetings. When they asked me to go along with them, I was both delighted and terrified. We must have made an amusing picture as we inched our way down the street. Mother Shepherd and I walked on either side of Sister Agnes, holding her arms and carrying Bibles, which we couldn't read. Oh, honey, that's like The blind lead the blind, ain't it? Yeah, with a Bible. All of them got Bibles, okay? Nobody read them. Sister Agnes would begin singing. Sister Agnes would begin singing before we had even stopped anywhere. Sister Agnes was ready to sing, honey. It didn't matter where we was at. She would begin a hymn in her deep throated voice whenever she felt so moved. The teenagers in the neighborhood made fun of me with these two old ladies, and they teased me. Why, Robert, you little old granny, you. When they followed us, laughing and making deriding remarks, Sister Agnes would stop in her tracks, turn in the direction of their voices, and sing, "Oh, devil gonna take your soul," loud enough to be heard in Asheville. Then Mother Shepherd, never missing an opportunity, would follow with a hair-raising sermon on the most excellent way. Sister Agnes would shout loud amens at nearly every sentence, and sometimes she'd lift her heels and commence to dance. I loved those knees with all my heart. I was not aware of how ridiculous we must have looked, and I didn't mind the other teenagers teasing me. We prayed for each of them beforehand anyway, and I was quite confident that the Lord was going to help them and save them. One afternoon, as we stood on a street corner, 4 of the teenage boys came up to us and said soberly, "Show us how to know Jesus in that more excellent way, like you talking about." That love Mother Shepherd had was the love of God. She led those boys to the Lord right then and there on the street. Mother Shepherd. Mother Shepherd loved to pray for people. When she laid hands on them, sick people got well. People who were bound by demons were set free, and sad people became happy. I watched it all with admiration swelling in my heart. Mother Shepherd really knew the God she talked about. She knew him like a true friend and trusted him to do what she asked of him. He always seemed to answer her too. I prayed that I could know the Lord like Mother Shepherd knew him. When May came and roses bloomed in the yards and along the highway, and the smell of tobacco covered the city, I knew it was time to head back to Greenville. Mother Shepherd wept when I told her, and the day I left, they had a little party for me. Sister Agnes, though she was blind, was still a good cook, and she made fried chicken, rice, cornbread, and my favorite, poke salad. I remember poke salad when I was a little girl. Mother Shepherd baked sweet potato pie. There was hot coffee and iced tea to drink. We kept our conversation happy and light. Mother Shepherd embraced me as I left and kissed me. We both knew it was probably the last time we see each other. Tears stung my eyes as I walked up the dirt road toward the town and the bus station. I could hear Sister Agnes and Mother Shepherd singing, their voices low, mournful and sad, mingled with the sunshine and dust in the air. By and by, when the morning comes, all the saints get together in our new home. Tell the story of how we overcome. We'll understand it better by and by. Oh, Lord. Yeah. Chapter 23. What we gonna read to tonight? Maybe 27, 25. I'll say 26. I'll settle with 26. 26 is good. Back in Greenfield, I lived with my Aunt Julie, who was cousin Gertrude's and Bessie's mother. She was a kind woman, short with coal black skin. She wore her hair cornrowed or tied in a rag, and I never saw her with a pair of shoes on her feet, except for the coldest days of winter. She worked in the white folks' homes around the town, washing and ironing. She walked to and from work every day, leaving her children to care for themselves until she returned late each night. Aunt Julie's husband had died 2 years earlier of the pneumonia, leaving her with a broken down house and the care of 5 of their 13 children. The oldest children, including Caldosia, Bessie, and Gertrude, were married and had families of their own. 4 were dead, and they left 5 at home. The youngest not yet 3 years old. Before now, I don't hardly ever recollect being without a baby in my arms or on the way, she told me in her low, soft voice. I got a job at a cotton mill for $8 a week. They said they were looking for men to run machines, but they gave me a job cleaning toilets. At night, Aunt Julie would sit in a big chair in the middle of the big room and on the sloping porch with the children all around, and we would talk. Aunt Julie was a wonderful talker. She had a captivating way of telling stories, and I look forward to these times together. You know, Robert, I fought with your daddy by selling you. I would have taken your in myself, but he wouldn't hear of it. Aunt Julie told me tearfully. He wanted that money because his daddy sold them. With a sharp burning sensation, I wondered what it might have been like to grow up in a home with my own people. You've been under slavery, child, but we've been under it too, she said. They didn't sell us, but they had us. If we fought, they killed us. If we didn't fight, they killed us in another way. I thought about Mother Shepherd's more excellent way. She said that anger and hostility only produced more anger and hostility, and black folk had had enough of that. There was a lot to think about. When Aunt Julie discovered I couldn't read or write, she set aside a learning time for me every night after supper at the kitchen table. With the plates cleared and the table washed, we would sit down together and she would write big letters on a brown paper bag with a pencil, and I would try to copy them. She taught me how to print Robert Sadler and how to count to 20. I didn't know where she got her education. I spent most of the day of my 17th birthday learning to write my full name. I worked hard at each assignment she gave to me. Aunt Julie taught me from the Bible too. She taught me how to find Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and how to find verses. She taught me words like God and Jesus and love. As I ran my hands over the smooth pages of her worn Bible, I thought of the Bible at the big house on the plantation. It sat on a shelf in the parlor. I heard Mistress read from it several times, and Master occasionally read aloud. I remembered hearing those words, and it came to pass. I thought they were thrilling words. Remember when Robert was a little boy and he was talking to them about the Bible and stuff, when they found out that the boys, the little slave children, were teaching him. But they were acting like they were the master teacher or what have you and stuff. So the mistress and the master came in and saw them teaching Robert and stuff. Well, the conversation got on, you can't teach a nigger to read, all this and that and stuff. Then it got on the about religion and stuff, that niggers can't go to heaven. If they are in heaven, they serving white people. So Robert had forgot all about that. I don't know if he gonna remember it or not, but my clothes. That's what they was teaching them, the slaves and stuff. You go to heaven and stuff, you're gonna be serving white folks in heaven. Aunt Julie, show me where it say, and it came to pass. After some searching, she found those words, and in another couple of days, I could write Robert Sadler, and it came to pass, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. The winter passed, and I continued to work at the cotton mill, giving most of my salary to Aunt Julie. I joined Aunt Julie's church and faithfully attended, and yet something inside wouldn't let me rest. The restlessness in me is hard to explain. I was a free man, but I had nowhere to go, nowhere to belong. I couldn't live with aunts or cousins forever. I didn't know how to be a free man. I had studied plenty on freedom. Black men rode in the back of the buses and drank from separate drinking fountains than the white people. They walked with their heads down on the streets, and they got jobs cleaning toilets or doing hard labor for less money than it takes to feed a family. I had seen plenty of free black people who had moved up from slavery. Many had become drunks and alcoholics. They lived lives of poverty and powerlessness and died in bars and jails and on the roadsides. I didn't want that. Lord, I didn't want that. I was moving with an ache, like the kind you get when you're broken a leg. It's always there. You just move a little different with it. I finally decided that if Sam Bill would take me back, I would work for him. Why? I'd break my back for him. Then I'd sit down with my feet in the dirt and my head in the grass, and I'd watch the sun go down. Freedom was strange and frightening. I didn't know what was coming next. As a slave, I knew what to expect. Maybe going back to the plantation was the answer, and maybe it wasn't. I wasn't looking for an answer. Maybe I just needed something a little familiar. I decided to return to the only place in my life where I had ever belonged. I announced to the family that I was going back to Anderson. Okay. But why is you wanting to leave, son? Aunt Julie asked. Well, for one thing, I'm going back to Sam Bill's. Aunt Julie's eyes grew wide and a loud wail escaped from her lips. You's going where? I was going back to the plantation. I wants to see Sam Bill again. Robert, they'll keep you there and you'll never get off of that place again. No amount of pleading dissuaded me. I was determined to go back. In the spring of 1928, 3 years after my escape, I boarded a bus and headed back to my old master. Honey, baby child. Ooh, I didn't expect that. I did not expect that. I don't know what to say. Yeah. I know one thing, we can't go back. We on chapter 24, honey. Let's see what's finna happen. I did not expect that for him to escape to freedom and then he go back to slavery. I don't know. Maybe he might be the only one that we ever read about this. Maybe it's some more. I don't know. We'll see. Chapter 24. I took a taxi from the bus station in Anderson to the Bill plantation. The spring air was hot and sweet with the smell of honeysuckle. Flowering dogwood bloomed along the roadside, and spotted irises and violets grew wild in the woods and ditches. The air was filled with the music of the starlings, the jays and the finches. My heart beat wildly with excitement and fear underneath my new red knit shirt. My grip sat on the seat beside me. As we neared the plantation, I could actually sense the oppression in the air. It was something unexplainable. Even the Negro taxi driver grew agitated as we neared the place. I heard him cursing under his breath. And when we arrived at the big house, he refused to pull up in front of it. Get out here, Uncle, he told me flatly. I ain't driving up there. The sounds of the taxi driving off, the barking of the dogs, and the clucking of chickens surrounded me as I stared unbelievably at the grand old plantation home I had left just 4 years ago. It was a junkyard, a shambles. It sat bent and wounded against the sky like a defeated and broken soldier. Soldier, my ass. My mouth dropped open. Lord, have mercy. So sympathetic with him, understanding, tolerable. Now, what was wrong with staying with your auntie, your family, till you get on your feet? Build yourself, your home, your position, instead of going back. Let's see. Oh, wow, Robert. I walked quietly around the side of the house through weeds, broken wheels, cans of pieces of lumber to the kitchen door. There was no answer when I knocked, so I left my grip under the porch and began walking across the huge cluttered yard. I walked through the weeds to Buck and Corey's shanty. It was empty, dark, and mice ran squeaking through the hay scattered across the floor. The partition was still there that Buck had built for him. When he stayed with them, it was just a little partition. I continued walking. The path to the quarter was nearly overgrown with weeds. As I walked along, I heard workers in the field. Looking up and shielding my eyes from the sun, I saw several figures bent and plowing in the field. Lord Almighty! It was John Bill doing the plowing, and Thomas. And behind them spreading seed were Juanita and Virginia. I ran to the edge of the field. Could it be true? Was I dreaming? It was true, all right. The Bill children were plowing and planting. I ran out to the quarter to look for my friends. There was no sign of anybody. From shack to shack, I ran, all empty. I couldn't get to Miss Seeley's shanty fast enough. There wasn't a shred of evidence that she had ever been there. Some wooden boards slapped together over a piece of dirt. That was all there had ever been. That was all there had ever been. But now the life was gone, and it was ugly and terrible. I felt sick and sat down on her step to catch my breath. On my way back to the big house, Thomas saw me from the field. He dropped the handles of the plow. "Hold there!" he shouted. I stopped and looked at him unmoving. He shouted again, and it was obvious he didn't recognize me. I walked slowly after him, and he walked toward me. John and the girl stopped to watch. Thomas's mouth dropped when he recognized me. Robert? Robert! I thought for a second he was going to run to me and embrace me, but he caught himself. "Robert!" he repeated. "Hello, Thomas," I said. "What's happened? Why are you out here in the field plowing?" "Robert, we've lost everything. All the land we had left is what you see, right here. Everybody and everything is gone." He looked heartbroken. "Your father? He's in the house sick, very sick. He's dying." "Where are the slaves?" "All gone, all set free." "Praise the Lord," I said. "I'm sorry for you, Thomas, but I'm glad they're free." "Why did you come back, Robert?" "I wanted to see your father again," I answered. "In a funny way, he's my father too." I'll be damned. Yeah, I would be damned if I understand where Robert is coming from with this. It's the indoctrination. It's got to be the indoctrination. And now he's so in his infancy of religion and stuff. I guess he forgiven and he lost. He lost. I don't think religion was what he needed coming out of slavery. He needed to bind with strong-minded black men and women that wouldn't just let religion become his only grip, his only hope. And that's why, yeah, he took his ass back there and stuff. He was my father too. Thomas's eyes were riveted to mine. "Uh-huh," he said quietly. I left him in the field and walked back to the big house. I walked up to the back door again and knocked loudly. There was no answer, so I opened the door and walked in. The kitchen was a stinking mess of garbage, dirty dishes and pans, open boxes and jars of food left on the table, dirty clothing, greasy walls, mixed street floors, and flies and bugs everywhere. And don't tell me his ass finna clean up for him. Yeah, let's just read. After standing at the door and surveying the room for a few stunned moments, I turned and walked out. The well on the porch was still there. And I drew the bucket up for a drink of water. I wondered if I had been the last one to sweep the porch. It was piled high with pieces of wood, old furniture, broken machinery, straw rags, and layers of hardened mud on the floor, hid in the wooden planks. There was the acrid smell of the dogs. And I wish he'd have just fell in love with a black woman on his travels. And maybe his ass would have been there married with some babies. I heard someone coming in the kitchen just then, and I put the bucket back into the water and hurried to the doorway. "Hello," I called. A fat, unkempt woman with uncombed gray hair shuffled toward me in worn bedroom slippers. "What do you want?" she demanded. "What do you want?" I stared in disbelief. "Miss Bill?" I breathed. She eyed me suspiciously. "Ma'am, it's me, Robert." Her eyes narrowed. "Robert!" "Yes, ma'am." She pulled herself upright and snapped. "What do you want, Robert?" "Please, ma'am, may I see Master Bill?" "No, you may not." She spit at me. "Oh, please, ma'am, just for 1 minute." "No, Robert, you ain't seeing Master Bill. Now you can just get off the place." "Ma'am, please." She paused for a moment as though she were considering my request. Surveying me, she said, "God, boy, you gained some weight. You is positively fat." "Yes, ma'am," I said. "I've been eating good." She laughed. "I can see that, boy. I can see that. You're grown up since you left here." "Yes, ma'am. I'll soon be 18. Uh-huh. Same as Thomas." "Yes, ma'am." She had seemed friendly for a flashing few moments, but then anger flew across her face again. "Well, you can't see Master Bill. He's ailing, and he don't want to see nobody. It won't do you no good to plead with me. I ain't letting you see him no how. Now get off the place, Robert." I turned to leave, but I made one more request. Ma'am, how's Miss Anna? Miss Anna be fine, she said crisply. Ma'am, could I see her? Outraged now, Mrs. Bill shouted, you may not see Miss Anna, and you may not see Mr. Bill, Master Bill. Now get off this place before I get my shotgun. I walked back to Anderson with my grip, taking the same route I had taken 4 years ago, leaving. I was like hundreds of other blacks who had grown up under slavery. Hell, I don't think they went back. I was set free in a world that had no room for free blacks, and I didn't know who I was or where I belonged. I knew in my head that I belonged to the Lord and that he loved me, but I had little understanding of what love meant, and the only real belonging I knew about was being owned as a slave. I was no longer a slave, but I wasn't free either. Chapter 25. I do I can resonate with Robert now on that, why he went back there, not there, but I've had something traumatic happen, and I went back there before in a mind of mental confusion, I guess it was. I can see, yeah. I think he probably was the only one in, in history. Maybe it was a few. It couldn't have been many, though. I think his ass was ready to clean up that kitchen. When he stopped and got that cup of water out that well, he was about ready to go clean up that kitchen. Set some water and vitals cooking and stuff, straighten everything out, and break his back. Yeah, he'd have been out there in the field, and one by one, they would have took their ass in the house and left him out there at the field. Chapter 25. I found my sister Jamie's house on Fant Street, and she let me move in with her. Margie was living there too, with her 2 little boys. Her husband had left her after she had the second baby. Margie was overjoyed to have me near her. In these first weeks, she fussed over me more than her own children. She washed my clothes, cooked for me, sold me things, and tried to help me the best she could. Janie didn't like the special attention given me. It irritated her. Already cold toward me, Margie's affection added to her annoyance. You're making that boy old lady, Margie. I is caring for him, Janie, and I'll do as I please. Janie's house was anything but peaceful. She often had temper tantrums. She got drunk, brought boyfriends home whom she fought with. And if it wasn't the boyfriend she fought with, it would be Margie or me or even the children. She thought nothing of beating Margie's boys, and this infuriated Margie. The oldest child, Allie, was just 4 years old, and the baby Walter was about 2.5. The way Janie treated them reminded me of the way our stepmother Rosie had treated us. I was glad when I got a job on a small farm outside of Anderson and was gone from the house most of the day and most of the night. I went to work at plowing time for a white farmer named Weeks, Wheeks. He was very kind and had a stout, friendly wife who was as kind as he was. They often invited the hired hands to eat lunch with them. Mrs. Weeks would fix pig hocks, boiled cabbage, cornbread, custard, and fresh fruit pies. I never knew white folks so nice. Mr. Weeks showed kindness in other ways too. I had to walk 2 miles to and from work each day, and there were times when I showed up late. He would have my mural hitched up for me and ready to go by the time I got there. And he never said a word about me being late. I made mistakes and did things to earn dozens of whoopings, but Mr. Weeks never raised a hand to me or to anybody else. I never heard him curse or call any man a bad name. He helped his men buy homes as well as send their children to school. One day, I heard him telling Mrs. Weeks someone named Hoover was elected president. I didn't know what president meant, but I sure never heard of elected. At setting up time, I cleared $100. Yep, at settling up time, I cleared $100. That was one Christmas that there was plenty of food and fresh fruit for everybody. After I bought a few things for myself, I gave the rest of the money to Margie. When Janie found out I had given money to Margie and not to her, she threw us both out of her house in a rage. Margie found another place for us, a tiny one-bedroom shanty on Johnston Street for $22.50 a month. Janie featured, yeah, $22.50 a month. One room. Janie eventually felt bad for throwing us out. Attempting to make amends, she decided to throw a big family reunion party at her house. She invited my brothers Johnny, Leroy, and Harvey, their wives and children, Margie, her children, me, and lastly my father. My heart beat fast and my tongue became thick at merely the thought of seeing him again. Driving away in the buggy, leaving me in the dirt of sounds. Deeply printed in my mind was my last sight of him. Driving away in the buggy, leaving me in the dirt of Sam Bill's driveway. I could still see Pearl jumping in the dirt, shouting at him, "You evil man, selling your own children's. You is an evil man." And Pearl, my Pearl, her miserable death when only a child, ending an even more miserable life. Yes, my father was the one person I had never wanted to see again as long as I lived. The day of the reunion arrived. Except for my brief meeting with Johnny, I didn't know my brothers at all. They told me that we had another sister named Ada, who was the oldest, but she was working in Roanoke, Virginia. When they brought my father in, I was startled at the sight of him. 30 years had paid a heavy toll on him. 13 years had paid a heavy toll on him. He was bent, tired, gray, and much thinner than I had remembered him. His blue-black skin was furrowed with deep lines. His tall body no longer proud. Margie was the one who presented me to him. "Dad," she said in a flat voice, "this is Robert." He stared at me for a few seconds and then said in a timid voice, "Hello, son." I cringed and could not reply. He looked at the floor and said softly, "I don't blame you for hating me. I've been sorry for what I've done since the day I done it." He'll lie. I could not answer. The years of bitterness and despair in a forsaken little boy seemed to hit me all at once. I prayed silently for the Lord to help me. Finally, I managed. "How's Rosie?" "We ain't been together for the last 10 years. She quit me." I moved away from him. I had nothing more to say to him. Janie was all dressed up that day. She wore her long black hair pulled back and sleek. She had high cheekbones and enormous eyes, brightly painted lips, and a long, slender body wearing a shiny black satin dress. Margie was the kind of girl that would make you smile and happy inside. My brother Leroy, who owned a small farm near the Bill plantation, told me how Sam Bill had come to his house with the Ku Klux Klan and his friends looking for me after I escaped. They come across the field when my beans was up about like that and my peas up like that. They come across the field at night and they come up the road by day. They come a looking for you, Robert. I told them you wasn't at my place and I didn't know where you was nohow. That Sam Bills always feared you'd run away, and he feared that your daddy would come and take y'all back. Thought you'd come running to my house, but I didn't even know y'all. I listened with grave interest. "When did the plantation go down?" Leroy gnawed on the chicken neck, spitting out a small knot like bones as he talked. He just plain lost everything. "Oh, that place is cursed. Cursed. I'm telling you, God is a just God." "But what happened to all of the slaves? Where did they all go?" "Oh, I seen some of them around, right here in Anderson. You'll find them, sure enough. They's here and they's there." Big Mac never made it to freedom, I thought. But how about Miss Seeley, the Edwards family, Miss Harriet, Jed? Leroy said he thought they were all in Anderson except Jed. "I think he went up north." I noticed that my brothers and sisters didn't have much to do with our father either. They hardly spoke to him or paid him any attention. He struggled to get out of his chair and nobody offered to help him. And when he spoke, nobody listened. Margie was the only one who showed him any courtesy. "They hate him for selling his children as slaves," Margie explained later. "Well, You the one he sold, girl. How come you be's the one who treats him nice? Margie looked at me sadly. He done paid for what he did, Robert. He'll always be paying for it. And I don't reckon I need to punish him anymore. God is a just God, I said. Margie smiled. In the autumn of 1928, Margie's baby, Walter, took sick. She called the doctor, but he didn't give us much hope. Said there was some poison in his kidneys spreading through his little body. I remembered how Mother Shepherd prayed over people who were sick and they would be healed. I did the same. I held little Walter in my arms and asked the Lord to heal him. In fact, as the days wore on, I begged the Lord to heal him. His little face grew more and more sickly, though. Margie cried her heart out every day caring for him. It seemed the world just stopped during those days. We took turns sitting up nights with him. And even Jamie came and helped out. He grew worse. And finally, around the first part of November, he died. The weeks after little Walter died was sad and dark. Even though I knew the Lord had a good purpose for taking him home to be with him, instead of healing him like we asked, we grieved over it. I joined the Zion Temple Holiness Church, located at the end of Fant Street in December, and began going to the meetings regularly. Margie never came along with me and told me right out, I am not one of them who goes for religion, Robert. So I began to pray for her. Finally, one day, Margie came with me to the little church, and as the people were praying and singing, Margie began to cry. She went up to the altar and gave her heart to the Lord that night. She never took it back as long as she lived. One of the first prayers I ever heard her pray was, Lord, I just want to thank you for taking my baby home to heaven. I'm sorry for acting selfish and droopy. I ain't going to act that way no more. And she meant what she said. I got a job in the winter of 1929 at the Calhoun Hotel in Anderson, washing pots and pans in the kitchen. I bought the first raincoat I ever owned when I received my first pay. And you think I just bought the hotel. Can't get near y'all in that coat, Margie laughed. Can't nobody get near with that coat on, honey. I bet he was wearing it in the rain and the hot sun. One night when I came from working at the hotel, Margie met me outside the dirt road. Robert, she said anxiously, Dad is inside. What you talking about? Dad. That's what, Dad. He's inside and he's come to live with us. Girl, you lost your mind? No, I hasn't. None of his children were taken. Robert, he don't have no place else to go except here with us. A cold chill gripped my heart and began to spread through my chest. I looked at my sister bewildered. I just don't know if I can live with that man, Margie. I felt Ella's smooth cheek next to mine. We were huddled underneath the house, clinging to each other as Father heaved a blow at Mama. I heard Mama fall to the floor, and Ella was crying softly. Her tears were warm and wet against my face. Robert, Margie pleaded, what else can we do? I tries not to hate him, I said lamely. God will have to help us, that's all. Give us love for the man. My father moved in with us, and the first month was terrible for me. I avoided him as much as I could and never spoke to him. When I had to address him, I called him Jim. Don't call me Jim, son, he told me in a firm, steady voice one morning as I was buttoning my raincoat, preparing to go to the hotel. Don't call me Jim no more. I is your father. I whirled around. You are not my father, I snapped. Sam Bill is my father. Stomping out of the little wooden shack and up the dirt road to the hotel, I grew more and more angry. I fussed all day over it. He had some nerve telling me to call him father. By the time I got home, I had built myself up for a real storm. He was sitting on the porch waiting for me. Before I could say a word, he said quietly, Sam Bill is dead, son. He died 3 months ago. The words were like a blow to my stomach. I looked at the old man's greasy, crumpled face. He was bent over in the wooden chair like a folded rag. I know it's too late, Robert, he said in a cracked voice, but I'm sorry for what I done. I'm sorry for what I done. Tears rolled down his cheeks and his wide shoulders trembled. He felt a tinge of compassion for him. How much did you get for me, Jim? I asked in an unsteady voice. No, protested the old man. Don't ask me that, Robert. Please. I want to know, Jim. Now you tell me. I'm going to tell folks my story one day, and I want to know how much I was sold for. He began to sob loudly. Oh, Lord, have mercy, he cried. I got about $85 for you. In the summer of 1929, I began to get restless again. I was well liked at church, and I began to spend my hours after work in the church praying and teaching myself to play the piano. The desire to go to school was still very strong, and I talked about it to Margie. I think you should go to school, Robert. It'll help you. I was elated when Margie took me to the Presbyterian school about a mile away. I talked with the principal about enrolling. How old are you? I was 18, sir. 18? But where have you been all these years? Why haven't you attended any school? I've been a slave on a plantation outside town most of my life, sir. A slave? That's right, sir. Robert, that is against the law. It's not legal. I know it's against the law, sir, but I was a slave anyhow. I could take you to the place today. The man was shocked. I told him of my escape and of my burning desire to go to school to learn how to read and write. He accepted me for fall enrollment, and I shouted with joy, "Thank you, Jesus." I doubted if my feet touched the ground when I walked home that day. When I arrived at our unpainted shack on Johnston Street, I saw the old man asleep in the chair on the porch, took a breath, and called, "Dad, I is going to school." He stirred, opened one eye, and said, "What'd you say, boy?" I said I is going to school, Dad. The old man grinned from ear to ear. That's fine, son, that's fine. The barrier was broken. September came at last, and I started school. I was in the first grade and sat in a classroom with 6-year-olds. I loved every minute of it and was hardly even aware of how ridiculous I looked. I was much too big for the desk and had to sit sideways in them. The children giggled at me, but they were never cruel. We got along fine. During recess, I threw the ball to the children and played with them. When we did our arithmetic, Mrs. Garner, the teacher, gave us problems to figure out. One morning, she told us that we were going to learn Roman numerals. I was deeply disappointed because I wanted to learn American ones. Story time was a favorite time for me. I loved the stories as much as, if not more, the little children did. One of my favorites was The Little Red Hen. Summer came and the principal told Margie and me about a boarding school in Seneca that was all black and free. I applied and was accepted for the summer. This meant I had to leave Margie and live on the campus. Before I went away to Seneca Junior College, I asked my dad to go to church with me. He did, and he gave his heart to Jesus. He wept and prayed, and it was the most touching thing you ever did see. I hugged him and actually was able to say from my heart, "Dad, I forgive you." There was one more wonderful thing that happened before I went away to school. I had a long talk with Janie about her soul. She went to church by herself the Sunday night before I left and gave her heart to the Lord. She came by the house and told me what had happened. And Margie, Janie, Dad, and I talked and enjoyed one another into the early hours of the morning. I didn't want to leave her, but another major part of my life was about to begin in Seneca, South Carolina. Robert going to school. And honey, we 26. We on chapter 26. I guess we'll save this for tomorrow when he's at school. And do I dare say we might finish this tomorrow? No, that's got to be over 10, 11 chapters. Yeah. Well, at least 2 more nights and we'll be done with this. Thank you so much. And yeah, it gets easy from here. Robert has had a very hard life. but he survived. He survived it. I thank y'all so much. And process this also. Process this too. Yep. Hello from Australia. Hi, Sarah, Australia. Wow. Okay. This is Modern World Bank International Oxygen. Just went on sale. China has no clock. Uh-huh. Yeah, maybe Camel Hunter beef stew for you while watching the day after tonight. Well, yes. Well, I guess. Well, thank y'all. And yeah, process this tonight. We process all of our readings at nighttime. In the afternoon too, it's good to process those too and let them marinate in you, all the greatness about us and stuff. So you'll be able to remember our stories of greatness. And this right here, we process this right here so we can, shalate all that negativeness off of us and stuff. Because it can be very troubling to keep these memories, these stories, these truths with us as we going through things ourselves. Because went from 0 to 100 and make that split decision, and your life be changed forever. So I always process this stuff right here. And what we going through today, it don't help things. Knowing where it's trying to go back to. Days of old. Them days of old. But I love you to life and afterlife. So process this right here. Keep some gratitude and a song in your heart. Just do that a little bit. We'll be all right. Peace and power to the people.